also tell me what it is that you do with the Tampa Police?
Yep, my name is Roy Potts. It's R-O-Y. He is in Paul A-Z. And I work in our Special Incident Management Unit. And we do a bunch of different things up there, but one of our functions is emergency management planning for the police department.
So, what is the department's role in hurricane preparedness?
Yep, we do have a role in hurricanes, but we are a part of a big picture. You know, it's a whole city effort and county effort to try to keep the citizens as safe and aware as possible and such. But one of our primary roles is the evacuation of folks. When that word goes out, we go out and we try to make sure that the traffic is flowing properly to get people out as quickly as possible. Also, a lot of people don't understand during a storm, if there is an evacuation order in place, mobile homes evacuate regardless if they're in a surge zone area or not. So in the city of Tampa, we go to every single mobile home and we knock on the door to make sure that they're aware it's time to evacuate. Then once the storm is passed, we have the recovery, you know, and then we, depending on the damage, we do damage assessments or help get people in, things like that. Once the damage assessment is done, if there's areas that we have to secure, we'll obviously secure those areas, and we give a lot of assistance as needed through the direction of the emergency management folks. Also, the recovery with getting people back into areas. If there was an area that was damaged and we had to secure it, now we want to get as many good folks in as possible that belong in those areas. So that's another function of ours.
Now, mandatory evacuation zones. I think there's maybe some misconceptions about what that means. Can you just kind of go through what it means if you're in an area that's considered mandatory evacuation?
Yes. Now, they'll come on and they'll say there's a voluntary evacuation order ahead. Now, let me back up a little bit. What happens is there's an executive policy group for Hillsborough County that makes these decisions to evacuate. So when they make these decisions, we want folks to take them as serious as possible because they don't make those decisions lightly. They know that when you evacuate, you disrupt people's lives. So they got to pick up, businesses have to shut down, all those things like that. But a lot of people, when they hear the evacuation, especially when it's a mandatory evacuation, they go, oh, I can ride this out, I'll be okay. Because a lot of folks really don't understand. They only evacuate areas that could be affected with a storm surge. And a lot of people don't understand what a storm surge is. And it's not so much the wind that hurts people in bad situations, in bad storms, it's that water that hurts them. So when they evacuate, they're trying to get people to run from the water, get away from the water. So with that being said, when they go into a mandatory evacuation, that really means mandatory. They want those folks to evacuate. Technically, can they get arrested for not evacuation? Yeah, technically they could. But there's so many folks that don't evacuate, though. And we're trying to get the word out to please take these warnings seriously, the mandatory evacuation seriously, because when that water comes, there's nothing anybody can do for you.
Now, consequences of riding it out, as you said. What are some potential hazards that people could see if they choose to ride out?
Yeah, well, the biggest hazard is losing their life because that water comes in and it is devastating. It comes in very quickly, very violently, and it just takes everything away with it. If somebody let's say they did survive, the areas are so damaged that it's really hard for rescue workers to get into those areas for quite some time. You know, in the movies, they're there right away. In real life, we try to get there right away, but it is reality, and it is very difficult to get to areas, especially when they're so damaged. They're in the waters. You've got all the critters and animals and stuff that is in the waters with them. Diseases, you know, because the sewers get backed up, all those things like that. There's just so many hazards that we can spend a good hour here talking about each one of them, that's for sure. But the main thing is for folks to really take these seriously. I mean, they've seen it on TV. They saw Katrina. They've seen other storms, other bad situations, and these things are real, and it costs folks their lives.